Hello everyone, my name's Bottletop Hornet, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Standing up on a little tower that I just made to take the thumbnail screenshot. Ooh, I nearly fell. These are great for getting a little bit of height, and that's one of the things we unlocked when we unlocked the foundations. A really basic and cheap item to craft. Put that away for now. But welcome back to episode 2. In this episode, we're probably going to spend a little less time talking through everything, and I'm going to try and achieve a little bit more than I did in the first episode. We might do a quick reconstruction of this area and our hub area to try and put it up on some platforms and actually organize it a little bit so that we have less of this randomly placed goodness like the stuff that we have over here as well, and something a little bit more organized that's easier to keep track of, because right now I've already pretty much forgotten which one of these wires goes to where. At the same time, I'm going to do a little bit of exploration, try and get myself a bunch of Caterium and start making my way through this research tree, because there's a couple of things in there that I want to get very early on, namely one of the biggest and most helpful ones being the Mark II power poles. And so after we do a little bit of this rejigging, we'll head on out to where we scanned over in that direction, some of that Caterium, set up a couple of portable miners for the start, and in this early game I should only have to make a fairly small supply of the Caterium to sort of get me through to a decent stage of the game without having to worry about mining more or crafting more, and it won't take long for us to run out of the items that are required to actually progress, and we'll need to go through further stages of the tiers in the hub and build far more factory than we have right now. So with that being said, what I might do is make sure all of this is still running. I can actually check how much materials we have already. There should be a really decent little supply of plates going, and at the same time also a really decent supply of the rods. This concrete machine should have been running as well over on the other side, and yep, cool. I'm going to need that for sure, because I'm going to start putting down a bunch of foundations, so that'll be extremely helpful. And let's just check on our wire production. This should also have a decent little supply. Amazing. Cool. With those few supplies picked up and ready to go, I'm going to dismantle my hub area and these biomass burners. That's going to shut down all production for now, but once I focus on getting that completely set up again, maybe placing down a couple of extra biomass burners for the expansion that we're going to be doing, and organize a little bit of a power relay, a power station of poles across here, then we'll get it all connected back up again and running, so that when we go off in search of more Caterium, this can be running in the background and keep working on some of these materials for me to grab when I get back. So with that, I'm just going to cut here after placing down a bit of foundations, and then I'll run you through what I do with the foundations when we start to adjust this part of the factory. I don't know how I'm going to line myself up, but here it is. Oh yeah. Isn't that wonderful? It's kind of hard to see from down here, but we've now got ourselves a fairly decent sized platform, some ramps coming up, a little bit more of an organized area for our hub, and different crafting benches in the MAM, and a far neater setup with the power now all connected, and these three here are available for expansion if we need to. And right now we are producing 130, or our capacity is 130. Which is more than we had before. Plenty to get this back up and running. And what I might quickly do is just place down a bunch of these here, because that way we have a decent amount of connections that we can use. 2 more on each of those middle ones, and another 3 on that end one, plus another 2 on this one. And that's going to allow us to connect all of this up a lot neater, not have to try and daisy chain stuff together as much. And with that, I should be able to dismantle that one, and that one, and that one. Bring that up to our first power pole there, if it'll let me click. And I think that just needs to be connected back over to there, and all of those machines should be back up and running and continuing to produce. Then we might just tag onto the end of that one there, over to that, and all of our stuff over there is going. So now a much neater setup, a much cleaner looking setup, and while it's not completely necessary, adding a few walls onto the side just makes me feel like it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Some might consider it a bit of a waste of materials to begin with, but I like it. Very good. Cool. I'm really happy with that. I think it's nice to have a nice neat starting spot that I can come back to for a good while and utilize the organization to make things a little bit easier on myself when I'm coming back and trying to organize my thoughts and what I need to do next. So now, while I could be working on all of this, I might let a bit of that stuff continue its production and quickly go out and get myself that Caterium from down that direction. And once I've got myself a couple of hundred ore, which hopefully shouldn't take too long because I believe it's a pure node, then I'll come back here. Maybe I'll set up a machine to smelt it into the ingots. Once we unlock that with the additional 50 required ore for research, and we can get on to expanding our production. Adding stuff like the screws that we need for some of these things over here, a lot of screws are required, and also splitting up our copper production over there to sort out not only wire, but also the cables, and we will be unlocking some, what's it called? Copper sheets soon as well. So I think my inventory is clear enough. I have a little bit of concrete, but I might go grab just a bit more because it is handy for traversing. Putting down ramps and different blocks as you walk around does allow you in the early game to get up to some places that might be difficult to. So let's just, cool, get ourselves about 250, not too bad. I would like 250 exactly, so I'm going to wait. There we go. Cool. And if I hit that scanner by holding down V, I'm going to start heading in that direction, but I do know it should be over there somewhere. There we go. 850 meters that way. Actually, one thing just before we leave is I might craft up a couple more of these portable miners. We'll pick them up once we're done over there and use them for adding to more of the ore deposits around this area to expand. But having it over there means it's going to be 4 times faster than using one, obviously, and I'll be able to get what I need a lot quicker and come back and start working on the rest. I'm also going to gather as much of this biomass as I can, because for a little while we're going to be relying on that for our main fuel source to provide the power, and so getting up another steady supply of that is going to be really, really helpful. I can hear him growling at me. Ah, he's over on the other side. Not a threat. You will get used to dealing with them. A lot of times your best bet is to jump over their initial charge, which I mistimed. Try and hit them on the way down, and you can usually get the 4 hits that are required in to take it out. Eventually we do unlock a slightly better melee weapon that allows you to kill him in basically 2 hits, I think, maybe 3. But it has a lot better range, and that's something that we'll be aiming for pretty soon as well. And one thing you will notice, if you're new to the game, is this area is huge. And I cannot stress enough how tiny it is in comparison to the whole map. This is really a massive and super impressive game map that is pretty much handcrafted. And there are a lot of unique different biomes. Oh, of course, there's a bunch more iron over here as well. All of these are impure too, but I do know that there's like maybe 8? 1, 2, 3, 4 over there, 2 up top, and I think another 2 here. So we'll take this guy on. Grab his carapace. And most of these iron deposits, if not all the deposits actually, tend to have like a small build up on top. Now, if you're new to the game, making sure that you actually hand pick this up and get rid of it off the top of the deposit allows you to place down the miner on top. You won't be able to do that while that's there. And I have had some people comment saying that it's something that new people would probably really need to know. Sometimes it's really confusing, and if you don't know, even though it's such a basic thing, it's very important to understand. Otherwise you might get really frustrated. While I'm out here, I may as well also try and grab any slugs that I find. If I can jump up here, because overclocking will get us...
This slug seems to emit unfamiliar energy readings which could potentially be retrofitted into Fixit technology. A new research tree can now be accessed in the MAM.
What she said. They're going to be really important as we want to start overclocking things, especially the miners, trying to get a little bit more materials out of the impure nodes themselves. And so grabbing what you can see around this starting area, just a couple to get you going, is a really good idea. Here's another limestone node. We actually have 2 on us this time. So, yep, I knew I was going to get hit there, but I'll try my best to dodge and weave. Ooh. Keep an eye on both of them. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, but also other times, you will get a hang of their movement like that and should be able to get out without dying, hopefully. Luckily, I have another hand slot now and a couple of nuts, to get my health back up a little bit, but I personally like to try and keep as many of the healing items unused as possible, because later on one of the things that you can unlock in the MAM as far as research is medical inhalers that use these items to combine, I should say, they combine these items together to make a far more powerful healing item that essentially brings you back to full health in one quick hit. So it's good to know that there's a limestone there and another normal limestone here if we do want to set that up for a little bit more in the future. And I think I've gone a little bit wide of where the Caterium is, so I'm just going to tap V again, and yeah, just over this way. I knew it was somewhere near here. That's it there. So those rocks are something that will stop you from progressing in the early game in certain areas, because they mean that you can't place a miner down on top of it. You have to unlock a later sort of technology that unlocks explosives, and that way you can put some explosives on there and get rid of them, and we can get access to this pure Caterium node. I'm just going to have a look out around here. There's a lot of foliage that's stopping me from seeing any of the enemies. Not sure whether there's any around here. Usually they do spawn near the resource nodes, and you need to be careful when you're at a place like this where there's a large drop off into the abyss. I really don't want to get knocked over into there, but seems like we're in a good spot. I'm going to put down a couple of these portable miners, and since it's a pure node, it's going to mine, 80 per minute. A lot faster than if it was on an impure node. That's going to be great. And if I just put myself down a craft bench and try and get some reinforced iron plates. So I just need some screws, and I can use the time that those miners over there are doing their work to just do some manual crafting, get myself enough of this. We can actually start our research in the MAM while we're here. So I'll put that away, gather the resources again, and place down MAM. Thankfully this doesn't require power, and with that I can research this next tier. Only takes 3 seconds, but we can do it here and see what else is required for the next lot, that one being really, really powerful. It does take 50 of those reinforced plates, which is a big ask at such an early stage, but we'll hopefully set up some production for that soon, and getting 6 extra inventory slots, especially early game, is great. Also, unlocking Quickwire is a huge one. That'll allow us to make some more technical power-related stuff without necessarily having to worry about using the lower tier items. So I'm just going to actually clear these out so that they can continue to mine the items, like so, and spend a few minutes here crafting up these ingots, and I'll head back to base. So I'll see you there. Just before I get back to the base, I have left that area, crafted up a bunch of that Caterium, but since it's so dark, well, it's not that dark, but since it's nighttime, it's actually really easy to see the slugs scattered around the area. A couple of them in different places, which I probably can't get to. That one there being on top of a large cloud of gas. But some of these, really easy for me to get. I've got to be wary of some of the creatures around, but I may as well grab what I can on my way back, try and make my way up some of these rocks. Ooh. And watch out for some of the more dangerous types of creatures that there are. So this one here is, I just call them a spitter. I don't exactly know what they're called, but they do a lot of damage if they manage to shoot you. I got lucky there, and we got some alien organs to make up for it, but you do need to be wary of them. They can be really dangerous. Another limestone ore. So I'm going to continue around for just a minute while it's dark. May as well use the time that I'm out here to gather these, and then we can head on back, put that Caterium to use, and start working on the next stage of our base. If I can just get up this rock. Come on. Damn it. Well, I'll see you back at base. Come on. Okay. Having zigzagged my way around the landscape a little bit through the night, we're finally back at the hub with a decent supply of stuff. I actually found a couple of little resource nodes for coal, some quartz, and even some sulfur. So that's good. It gives us a little bit of extra stuff to research in the MAM. And the last thing I want to do is, just before I get back to base, go up to the top of this hill here, because I do know that there is another slug just sitting right at the top. May as well also fill up on as many of these leaves as I can. Oh no, watch out for these guys here. I hate it when there's two. Oh, managed to avoid that and get a good hit in. Wonderful. Pretty happy with that one. There we go, there he is. And what I'll quickly just do is open up the camera menu by pressing P. I'll just hide the grid lines, actually. Let's put a nut in our hands instead so that it's not as obvious. So, I can actually zoom in with this, and you can see plenty of slugs sitting around up in different areas, usually a little bit hard to get to. Some require placing down different bits and pieces, some foundations to get up to, but then ones like that, super easy to get to, just need to walk over in that direction. The zoom level on this is incredible. Now those are just green ones. Green ones are the most basic tier of the slugs. They give you 1 power shard when you craft them. This one over here, which is a little bit harder to get to because of the gas, that's a yellow one. And I think maybe that one up there as well. I didn't grab that when I was over there. It was a little bit out of reach. Pop back out of photo mode. The green ones, they give you 1. The yellow ones actually provide you 2. And then there are rarer purple ones. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, you can't quite see. There he is. Way up there. They're usually in really hard to reach places. And they provide you with 5 when you craft it. So a lot of the exploring that you'll do looking for different resources and also some drop ships, which we'll get to at some point soon, you will find a bunch of these slugs and it's worth grabbing them as you move around because they're very important and super handy. Won't be long and we'll not have to worry about these guys for much longer. Hopefully they shouldn't respawn because once you set up some buildings, it stops them from respawning in that radius. Okay. Back at base, these have been chugging away. We've probably got actually a pretty decent little supply. Yeah. Ooh. Now we're talking. So now we're really building up some items. It's about time I start working on some more production to use it up rather than wasting it. But before we get to that, just going to quickly get some stuff researched in the MAM. That's not the MAM, this is over here. So we got enough to do stuff like this. That allows us to scan for more sulfur and also gives us the option, oh, we don't quite have enough sulfur, but if we can find some, to unlock black powder, which is used in making explosives. Then we have stuff like the quartz, also have enough to research that, which is great. And then that allows us to scan for quartz as well. So sulfur and quartz, very convenient. I'll just scan for some more iron because I know that that's all around here. Make some nice beeps. Power slugs can now be researched. So we'll start that. There we go. Ada might talk to us for a second. I'm not quite sure. Nope, it's all good. So this one here, super important. The overclocking of the buildings is something that we really want to get fairly soon. And we actually have enough materials to do it, but it takes 5 minutes. So I'm just going to do some of the shorter stuff first. One being this. And maybe this one as well. In fact, since it'll take me some time to craft up the 200 required Caterium wire for that, I'm just going to quickly get this one going. And while it's doing that, I'll do a little bit of crafting, get what I need for that. Since we have so much Caterium, oh, I don't have enough space in my inventory, so we'll offload a few of the things that we gathered out and about. There we go. Sort that again and sort that again. But I'll do some crafting, get some more biomass set up. Actually should check how our burners are going. They need a little bit more put into them. So I'll get that biomass crafted, restock our biomass burners, and continue some research. And I'll check back in once we've unlocked a few more things.
Tool belt has been expanded.
And I figured I'd pop back in at the end of our last piece of research that we can do at the moment with what we have unlocked. And I managed to make 50 of the reinforced plates to get our extra 6 slots of inventory.
Has been inflated.
Super helpful. And now I've gone through a few of the Caterium tree. One that I really want to get soon is the Blade Runners because they increase your speed and your jump height. Really great for getting around and exploring. And other than that, there's not much that we have the items required for it. So a lot of these require items that we are still yet to unlock, or find for that matter. And yeah, I don't really need to scan for the slugs, so I'm not going to waste the materials on that just yet. I think we'll leave it at that. So I wanted to wait till you guys were here with me to turn these slugs into power shards. So this is what I'm talking about, craft them up. And now, what I could do is, well, say for example, we'll go over to this one over here. And if you remember in the last episode, it takes 45 per minute, but this puts out 60. So what we can actually do is double click to add a power shard to this, and it allows us to overclock our machine past its initial 100% clock speed. So what I can do is increase this by maybe 25%. Nope, a little bit more. Probably want to go 20 items per minute, which I should be able to put in like that, and that uses exactly 60 limestone, and now we're using every single piece that's coming out of that machine into this one, and we're getting a little bit of extra concrete. Now, as you'll see, it actually ups the power consumption, and the higher you overclock it, the more that multiplies. So if you really want to push a machine to its limits, you're going to use a lot more power than, say, having two separate machines. But for things like miners, it's really, really helpful to be able to get more materials out of the ore itself, and then setting up, say, a bunch of different machines to deal with the excess that you create. So that's pretty handy. Means that we're going to pump out a lot more than this, and I'll be using that up, no problem at all. But now we have 6 of those. There's stuff like that guy up there on the cliff, and we're sure to find a heap more as we go exploring. We now have things like this, which is the Mark II power pole. It allows us 7 connections to the power pole rather than 4, which doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of times the power pole that has 4 connections often requires to be connected to 2 things because it's in between 2 other poles itself. So the connection from that pole to that pole takes up 1, and then that pole to that pole takes up another 1, and so you only have an additional 2 connections to each pole. Whereas once you put down a Mark II, all of a sudden you have 5 additional slots on the single pole, and it makes a huge difference as far as setting up machines, which can be super helpful. So with our research done, a little bit of an explore done, and enough Caterium in our storage to make up some Caterium wire and make those poles, I'm going to start working on renovating and upgrading our starter factory, maybe adding a little bit of iron from over there as well, splitting up our copper, and potentially overclocking that to handle 2 constructors rather than keeping the constructor itself overclocked. We may as well just overclock that and split the amount between our constructors. And I'm going to do that in a form of a little bit of a montage. I think is probably the easiest way for me to do it. So I'll try and show you the different stages of production, different stages of construction, but at the same time keep it as succinct as possible so I don't have to explain everything that I'm doing. And once you've seen me go through all the stages of setting it up, we'll pop back in afterwards and I can run you through what I managed to get created. So I hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you on the other side with hopefully a far cleaner and more productive factory. Okay, let's go. And welcome back, folks. I can hear the rumbling of the moth flying over top. So I've basically finished that area and turned it into purely a factory to work on the reinforced iron plates. So that's going to pump out 10 iron plates or 10 reinforced iron plates per minute. And then what I'll probably do is use these 2 impure nodes over here and just make some really simple constructors to get me a basic supply of just the plain iron plates and the iron rods themselves. That way I'm not using up any of those resources over there, and these can just run nearby the hub to get me the basic resources that I use in building a lot of things. Our power's actually shut off. We ran out of fuel, I believe, in a lot of these, if not all of them, probably all of them. Yep. But before I started working on that, I set up a constructor to deal with all my biomass and turn it into solid biofuel. So in that little montage, I did go through a couple of the tier 2 milestones. So the part assembly one, which got us the assembler for making the plates, as well as unlocking a couple of things. The obstacle clearing, so I could use the chainsaw, get a few inventory slots, and get the solid biofuel. That's how I removed some of the trees. And then the logistics too, so that once we start making a decent supply of the reinforced iron plates, I can use them for making Mark II belts, which can carry 120 resources per minute, which is twice as much as the Mark I. Plus it got us the stackable poles for doing a couple of things over there, which I'll show you in just a minute. First things first though, probably smart to grab all this biofuel, or the solid biomass, and just going to split it up so that it's possible to put most of the generators going at once. So I'll put 100 in each, like so. And that way I make sure that I have plenty of power. 220 megawatts, wonderful, which should be enough to connect over to there. Now, we're going to temporarily hook it up a little messy. Well, I don't actually have the ability to access that, but if I hold down E, it brings up this quick menu, and I can actually change that over to a Mark II pole, and now I have extra connections. So is it long enough to hit that? It is. And all the lights turned on. Good. We didn't hear the sound of the system crashing, so now those miners should fire up, and I'm going to pop up top of here, and we're going to watch the whole thing come to life. So I'll just put it in photo mode, and as you can see over there, we are starting to get some iron ore coming out of the miners. They are merged into two separate lines to make it a 60 line. So there's 30 coming out of each machine. I combine it into one conveyor belt for each two. That way we have 60 pieces going across there. And then it's split again once it reaches these smelters over here. So what I might do is just quickly speed up the footage and watch all of this pass through. We should see some iron ingots come out of there, flow around the side here, go into these constructors, see some plates coming across that one, some rods coming out of there, going into this machine to turn it into screws. Sounds complicated, but you do get your head around it eventually. There we go. We can see some of that moving. I'll speed it up and see if we can get some reinforced plates coming out the other end. Okay, cool. Very good. Looks like the whole system has finally started working at full capacity. Now you can see most of the belts are constantly going. We still have our constant supply of ore coming in, and everything should work at 100% efficiency. So everything has been balanced out into all the different areas so that it works exactly to the recipe's requirements, and 120 iron ore per minute will make 10 reinforced iron plates per minute. Not bad. Okay, so if we go over here, this little storage container now has crafted 10, and that's super important because that's going to help us move through the tiers a little bit quicker. It's going to mean that I don't have to handcraft those, which requires me getting iron rods, turning it into screws, all of that fun stuff. Now, this is just going to chug away constantly, and looking at our power, it seems like we're well within our limits. Maximum consumption is 126.3, and we're currently consuming close to 120 at max, so that's not too bad. What I'm probably going to do is work on that little factory and tidying up those two over there in between episodes, because this took plenty of time, and I think that's enough for one episode. I don't need to show you basically the same process as I did here, but just over there. It's all much the same stuff: smelters into constructors and eventually storage bins, so that we have all the items on hand. With that being said, there is one last thing that I do want to do before I finish this episode, and that is make myself I don't exactly know what it's called actually, we'll check. If we go over to the equipment workshop, I think it's a zip line, that's the one. So what do I need for this? a single Xeno Zapper. We've got enough already to make that, which is perfect. And a zip line like this. And this is what we're going to use in our next episode for doing a bit of traveling around. So if I swap that with this here we go. This is something that was added new in Update 4, and what it allows you to do is slide along your power lines. So it's a good way to get around. Just jumping around the power poles like that, you can continue to go infinitely, but one of the biggest things that it's really, really useful for is if I go like this, just place down a power pole and say I want to connect that to there. See if I can find a spot up here where it attaches. Oop, there we go. I can take enough resources to just make a few power poles and some wire, and when I'm traversing around the world, I can get up to areas like this in a very easy manner without having to worry about creating a bunch of platforms to get up some hills or cliffs. I can just traverse up using this zip line, get back down if I need to. Then all I have to do is hold control and dismantle the whole lot. Easy. So we're going to use that to do some exploring, looking for some drop ships. I'll explain what they are in the next episode, but we're looking for hard drives to help us unlock some alternate recipes. But I'm fairly happy with this. There we go. Look at that. Chugging away already. Probably got almost as much as I've had in total since I started the game, just by letting that run. It's running at 99% efficiency, but hopefully once these plates properly stock up in here, it should start running at 100%. We'll check this one over here as well. Also 99%, and all of these should be running at essentially 100%. Yep, 99%. Don't know whether that's a slight glitch or not, but 99% is close enough for me. And what we might do once we get enough of these reinforced plates is I can just press 3, hold down E to select Mark II conveyor belts, and we can just convert a few of these over to a Mark II just to make sure that it's moving faster than the machines are putting out, because currently I'm maxing out some of these. Like this is getting 60 items on a 60 item belt, so that's possibly why we're getting that little 99% in some machines. All in all though, can't really complain. Oh, good stuff. Okay folks, I think that'll do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked the little montage as a way to show off the work that I was doing without just cutting and showing you the finished product. It's getting dark now, so I'm going to work on some of these factories in between episodes, just getting my basic items back up and running, since they're all being used to create the plates over here. And then I'll see you in the next episode. So take care of yourselves, guys. I hope your day's been satisfactory, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, that's the stuff.